Here we're going to be talking about procedures to separate mixtures. So we've spoken about solutions and mechanical mixtures. And now what we're going to talk about is the processes people can use to separate things that have been mixed together. Okay, and this is very useful in a lot of things. Okay, because once you mix things, you want to separate them out. Okay, you do this on a regular basis. Whenever you get something dirty, what you've done is you've taken the thing that you want clean and you've mixed in dirt or a stain of some kind. And separating is removing the one and keeping the other. Okay, so separation is just pulling them apart. Now, there's different processes we're going to look at, and I'd like you to be able to name all of them. We won't go through all of them today, but the types are hand sorting, sieving, filtration, magnetism or magnets, evaporation, and distillation. Okay, those are all the processes or procedures we're going to talk about, and I want you to be able to name all of them. But the objectives are, I would like you to describe how the process works. How does it separate a mixture apart? And I would like you to describe what circumstances we'd use this procedure. So when would we use hand sorting? What does the mixture need to be like for hand sorting to work? And when do we use sieving? What does the mixture need to be like for sieving to work, or filtration, or so on? Okay. So those are your objectives for each one of these. You need to be able to name them. You need to describe how they separate mixtures and describe what sort of mixtures we use them on. Okay. And then finally, last thing, I want you to give real world examples of when we use these processes. Okay, the first one, the easiest and the most obvious, is hand sorting. Okay, and here are two pictures of examples of hand sorting. But hand sorting is using your hands to physically sort a mixture of goods into separate groups. That's it. Okay, here you have somebody sorting by color. They're using their hand to take something out and to organize them into groups. That's physically moving it with your hands. That's how you sort by hand. Simple, easy. Okay, hand sorting is when the objects we are sorting are different sizes and textures. It can only be done on larger objects. Okay, if I mixed salt and flour together and then I told you to sort it, you wouldn't go by hand. You wouldn't go through the thing. Go, that's a salt grain, that's a flour grain, that's a salt grain. No, you use another process. We only do it when there's a different texture, when there's a different sort of substance. All these things are big and different sizes. So here they're different colors. Here he's sorting marshmallows out. It's a different texture and a different size to his cereal. That's when we use hand sorting, okay? And examples of hand sorting are when we sort our recycling into cardboard and plastic into glass, or when we've got hockey balls and those bowling machine balls mixed together. They look the same, but they're different weights. So we pick them up and we go, okay, that's a hockey ball, that's a bowling ball machine. Or sometimes for some of you, you may pick your veggies out of your food because you love veggies so much and you just want to eat them first, right? But yeah, that's when you use hand sorting. The next one is sieving. This is the next procedure. So sieving, here's examples of sieving, two different kinds. A sieve is a structure that has holes that allow a certain size object through and not others, okay? So it's just a grid, basically. And what that grid does is it allows through certain size objects, smaller objects, but it holds back the bigger objects. Sieving is used when we want to separate liquids and a solid. So if you take, let's say you mix sand and water or stones and water together and you want to get the water out and you want just the stones, then you pour it through a cylinder and it holds it back. Oh, a better example would be a colander. You're making spaghetti, you pour the hot water out, you pour it all into a colander. The colander lets through the water, but it holds back the spaghetti. Two different solids with two different sizes. That's when we use it as well. Okay, so for example, this guy is busy sieving sand. So what you do is you sieve sand that has rocks and roots and debris in it, and when you throw it through this grid over here, the rocks and the bigger pieces stay behind, but the smooth sand that you want for building is kept behind. Okay, boys? Examples of when we use sieving: builders removing rocks, or us removing spaghetti from water. That's when we use sieves. Okay, sieves usually have bigger holes compared to the next procedure, which is filtration. Okay, filtration. These are two examples of filters here and here. Okay, filtration is almost the exact same as sieving, except the size of the holes in a filter are far smaller. That's it. It's the same as sieving, except with filters, the size of the holes are so much smaller. Okay, so this is paper with small holes in it. That's filter for coffee. This is an air filter with incredibly small holes that they use in your car. Okay. Filters are usually made out of cloths and foam and paper, where sieves are usually made out of steel and metal. Okay, Filters are used in the same circumstances as sieves. So if you learned when do we use sieves, we use it in the same circumstances as filters, except the particles are smaller. Examples: coffee filters, air filters for cars or air conditioners, oil filters in cars. Those are all examples. Okay, boys? So far we've covered three. We've covered sorting by hand, we've done sieving and filtration. You should be able to explain how each one works. You should be able to give me examples of when we use them, and you should be able to tell me what sort of mixtures they work on. All right.